to pop the chat out. All right, I think we're good to go. Yeah. Let's see. Give me like 30 seconds. All right, cool. We are live. I think we're good to go. I'm just going to start talking. Hopefully my audio and shit is set up. Please forgive the humming in the background. It's my laptop. All right, we don't care about that. If you were looking at the screen, you saw kind of what I'm looking at for Ethereum. But let's look at Bitcoin. Cool. So that's where we're at. Shit, you saw we just had this really hard rejection here. Well, not just. These are 3-day. I'm on the 3-day right now, so clearly each one of these candles is a decent amount of time. But yeah, so again, this 3-day order block we were pointing out before multiple times. This is actually a good case study. This is very much like a shooting star candle. It happens at, it happens at the top of some sort of up move. It happens when the wick is at least 2 times larger than the body. And here it's definitely more than 2 times larger. And it happens on high volume. You can see the most volume happened on this candle, and it shows that there was selling pressure entering the market, right? But when I say this is a good case study, I'm not saying that this is a good case study for shooting star candles, even though this is pretty solid with the small, almost non-existent lower wick. But this is a good case study for understanding that markets don't stop on a dime. They kind of trail off. And if you're not familiar with Anna Cooling's volume price analysis book, definitely read that. I tell all people who are interested in trading to start with that. It goes over volume and price, of course, as the book kind of gives away with the title. But it also teaches you just about like market makers and just the idea of insiders, smart money, institutional investors, whatever you want to call them. Market makers, etc. But definitely the information and the insight towards how volume and price look and work together for certain scenarios is really good. And so in her book, she definitely talks about this, how markets don't stop immediately, right? Like just because you see this shooting star, that is not a short entry signal for you to short right there, right at the close of this candle. Granted, and then put your stop right above maybe either this wick or the resistance level. Granted that this, you'd be in profit right now had you done that. But a 6% stop is pretty decent, and it's like there are better ways to trade this, and you'd be underwater for at least 3 days, right? So it's like you don't need to enter right there, and that's also not to say that we wouldn't accumulate right here and then break this resistance level. You would have a horrible entry. It's understanding that when you see these types of reversal candles, then you're going to see the market trail in the direction that it was originally trending in on lower volume. Like literally, this is textbook on lower volume. And I wish I had been paying attention to this before. But you're going to see this and you see, okay, we just close at a higher price. Let's look at the candle closes. We just close at a higher price with way less volume. at resistance, right? The key is at resistance. And so then maybe you want to close, or ideally you should close or open, excuse me, on this candle close right here. And then put your stop either above that wick or above resistance. Above that wick would give you about, 3 to 4% stop. Above resistance, you can get it under 3. And this is actually a great short entry. I'm a fool and don't know why I didn't take this myself. But yeah, anyway, just showing you where we're at and things that you can look at and use to your benefit. Support. Okay, so I guess the next thing is support because we mapped out resistance. I actually don't want to see this on the weekly. Hold on. I'm going to show you how I mark out my charts. So 3-day order block. Don't want to see it on the weekly. I'm going to label it 3-day. Oops. Bearish order block because that's exactly what it is. Consolidation, orders filled here, dump, cool. I don't want to see it on the weekly. Then I'm going to zoom out to the weekly because I think the weekly also shows support and resistance very well. So on the weekly, you have this level actually, which I don't know why it's, there we go. And I like my weekly levels pink. Again, perfect resistance. This was a weekly order block, and this was something that we did point out last week. Price stopped here, trade above it, closed below here, below the pink line, or at least the top of the pink line. And so we're going to label this as 1 week bearish order block, just because we consolidated here and then dumped. So that's why I give it a bearish. And then once we traded up above it, we didn't bounce here, right? There was some demand coming in with these lower wicks, but we did not bounce. And so I don't consider it like a pivot order block or an order block that can be support or resistance. It's pretty much just resistance, right? Support, yes. Well, actually, let me do this. What happens if I zoom into the 1 day? Does it look ugly? It's actually not bad. I usually don't like my blocks stacking on different time frames, but those just match up so fucking perfectly. Yes, here we are, weekly order block. This was also bearish, and again, we're not really seeing a bounce. TradingView doesn't give you a timer or a countdown on daily and above time frames, so I actually don't know when this ends. It looks like it started on the 30th of July. Does July have 31 days? I totally forgot. It literally just happened. It does. So this is July 30th, 31st, and August 1st. And if today is August 2nd, oh, okay. Wait. Oh, this is a weekly candle. Oh, my bad. I'm tripping. I really thought this was a 3-day candle. Excuse me. Okay, this is a weekly candle. Today's Thursday. So we'll see if we get a bounce here coming on Sunday. Like if this forms as a wick and we close above really like 7,700. Or, I mean, really, if we just take back a good chunk of this move, we might start to look at some bounce. But yes, same kind of idea. We don't really see this forming any support. It's pretty much just an area people are selling at for the most part. So I'll also say 1 week bearish order block there. So if we zoom into the daily, these are our levels, right? Resistance, both a 3-day and 1 week bearish order block. And here we are at support. which we kind of bounced a little bit here, and then you see us dumping under it right now on the daily. This daily candle just started, so we'll see where we are in the next 30 or 23 hours, excuse me. Right, for all we know, this could be a pin bar candle and form a reversal. If this does form a pin bar candle, and a pin bar is essentially it's going to be like a hammer or any type of long lower wick doji candle. Essentially, if we close high off the low, is all I'm saying, right? So this is that's the body of the candle. And if we close, oh shit, oops. And let's say that's the lower wick. If we have a very long lower wick in comparison to the body, that's all I'm saying when I say pin bar. And it could be even like paper thin body like this, with maybe a small nose, you know, anything like that. Then we'd start to look at it as a possible reversal because we're at like this weekly support level. And that would be like a daily pin bar. It would make sense. It would happen at the bottom of some type of uptrend or downtrend, excuse me, with this being the downtrend here. I don't know if this is a fib level. Let me look. It would I don't know. You might like this. Didn't really retrace 50%. And if you go from here, yeah, maybe if we close above, if you measure this low to high and we close above the 38.2, maybe you like that as a long entry signal, but right now it's not really the move. There might be stops here under this wick. Yeah, half of charting is just labeling shit. Maybe stops under here. Right. So maybe we're looking at a situation where we trade below this line and close above it. Maybe you like that as a long entry. And then if so, what that also does is not only does it look like it kind of ran any stops that might be under this low point of this consolidation zone, but then it would also look like a 50% retracement, which is usually, you know, again, I say this every day on the channel or every time I make a video. I like entering on 50% retracements the most. 61.8s don't really do it for me, at least the way that I measure fibs. So, but yeah, so maybe there's stops under here, and if we trade below this line but then close above it, and not only close above it but close kind of like high off the low with high volume well above the moving average, you know, maybe like that for a long entry. But right now it definitely looks like we're just breaking support. Doesn't look good. If we do break support, I guess the next thing would be to figure out where the next support is. So with that, there's two things. One, you have volume profile, in which case you have this huge low volume node here, this huge gap, which we might just shoot, right? We might just shoot this gap down here to this, what do you call this? This high volume node might act as support. And you can see here, I have the previous or developing like point of controls here in this red line, which I don't know why I have it like that. I usually like my point of control solid red line, and then my developing a dotted one. So you see we have the developing, the point of control used to be right here. It actually returned here at some point too. So maybe we catch support here. That would be one thing. The other thing is assuming we don't shoot this gap and we come inside of the gap, but then we like wick right here, and then pump up here, in which case we'd be looking at this area for support, right? Where we had a previous bounce in this zone, we might look for another bounce again. And so just to remove clutter, I'll move the volume profile. But yeah, so this is kind of where we had this low volume node right here where we shot this gap twice, down and then up, where you might think we might bounce. Green, yeah, so thick green line. So this little green zone right here, you might be trying to enter along here, and if you fib that out, I have no idea if it's anything at all. Yep, it's near the 50%. Maybe you like that. I don't know. I'm trying to think what other analysis is good to show right now. I'm actually gonna leave that green line there. And if we don't bounce there, then where's that weekly level? Here. Boom. Support, close above it, wicked here, shot it, cool. Yes, so if we don't bounce there, then you'd be looking to bounce here about $200 lower. Oh wait, about $300 lower. It's a decent zone. 2 to 300. Other things that I like to look at are the 26 and 12 EMAs, in which it looks like we're breaking them. So again, a pin bar will look good because it would be a pin bar at support. It would show buying volume coming in, or buying pressure, and it would happen right at support and hopefully try and close above the 26 daily EMA, which is currently at 74.64. Is that bullish? Hold on, I'll answer your question in a minute. Averaged up, but yeah. So we try and close above 74.64. If we cleanly break this, then that doesn't look good. And again, the 12 and 26 EMAs look bearish, and you'd be looking for a bear cross there. This burgundy line is the 200 daily EMA. You saw it serve as support. Good long entry, clearly broke it. It would most likely serve as resistance if we ever retraced back up here. Unless we just completely disrespect it again, which we could, but I doubt it. Last time we broke it upwards, we used it as support, and then we broke it downwards, and then it served as resistance. So broke it upwards, served as support, break it downwards. If we come up here, it's looking like resistance. It's very hard to continuously disrespect a line or a support or resistance level, a EMA, whatever, that a lot of the market is looking at, which the 200 daily EMA definitely is. Now, if you pick some obscure EMA, like I don't know, even the 12 and 26, kind of obscure sometimes, you can get multiple, instances of disrespect of the line, right? This is how it is. If we zoom into the 4 hour, it's clearly serving as resistance. It was holding up price here. Boom, good long entry. Boom, good long entry. Boom, good long entry. Every time I say good long entry, I'm essentially looking at this zone within the 12 and 26. Boom, disrespect. This was a sign of weakness in hindsight. You saw me label it as a sign of weakness actually when we were doing the Wyckoff logic. But then I kind of thought it was kind of a spring, like it looked like a demand test. And especially when this pin bar came in. And actually, no, this is not a pin bar, and I'll tell you why. But when we have this long lower wick, definitely thought it was support, but I guess it was just the bulls last chance and they failed here, lower high, and then dump. Um, and then here you see this is where the 12 and 26 cross bearish. We retraced towards it. Oh, it's so close, but we didn't touch it. But this area was, it's now serving as resistance. So it looks like we might bounce at the 200 4-hour EMA, but for sure the 12 and 26 EMAs are probably going to serve as resistance. And then on the 1 hour, it's probably looking really bad. Yeah, 1226 resistance. This 1 hour candle is only halfway done. So that's what I wanted to show. Let me answer this question real quick. I don't think I can. Let me see. OKEX futures expire in 4 hours though. Is that bullish? BitMEX is dumping. I don't know how. I'm not like extremely knowledgeable about this at all, so I'm just not a good source. But let me show you this. Yes. Go to this account, and I don't think it's his pinned tweet. Nah. I'm gonna find it. Let me see. Futures or profitable. Oh, I'm trying to find a specific thread that he made. Here he talked about funding. Here, this one right here. So if you look at this thread that he made, says, I've been talking to a lot of traders who are great at calling price action direction, but don't fully optimize their potential gains by using anything other than the BitMEX, USD, and spot. So here's a thread on futures. So I'm just not gonna sit here and like give you false information. I'm not gonna disrespect you like that, or even like pretend to know what I'm talking about. But I can point you in the right direction. If you're interested in understanding like what futures are and how that may or may not be bullish or bearish for like the spot price and just anything else on futures, like look at this thread. I'll go ahead and drop it in the chat actually, so you can just straight up click on it. Nah, I'm not shout out myself. I know nothing. But yeah, for sure, definitely read this thread. That's really the best thing I can do to like answer that question about futures expiring and what that may mean. For sure. So yeah, so that's what I'm looking at. Other things that I think are significant here are the guppy. I like looking at the guppy. You saw, man, this is damn near, this is the same fucking fractal. Okay, so look, we have this accumulation right here. Let me I need another chart. Hold on. This is what I do when I just need spare charts. I'll just like type in random shit. Daily guppy. Okay, cool. And let me get rid of this because that's clutter. Cool. All right. So this is what I'm looking at, and it just stuck out to me so visibly. It's literally the same fucking fractal. So here's the guppy, and here's like you have this dump. Dump is in red. Cool. Then you have accumulation with kind of like a low, lower low, higher low type of deal going on. And of course, it's not perfect fractals, but very much like the market behaviors Very similar. Then you have a very aggressive pump, right? Like Bitcoin doesn't believe in healthy bull trends. It always has to pump, egregiously. Um, Green. Egregious pump. And then you have like, it's not a pullback. It's really like traders are looking for a pullback, and me included. And I need to stop because it just doesn't come. Put that in like pink, maybe. Yeah. Pink. So you don't get a pullback, but you kind of get like this brief 2 or 3 days where it's like, it looks like you might have a retracement, but you really didn't, right? After the pump, you trailed upwards. Again, markets don't stop on dimes. You trail upwards. You have this like knee-jerk reaction, but then you pump ridiculously again. Like, and this is where people FOMO, because it's looking like, oh shit, like we're not pulling back. Like Bitcoin's really, we're doing it. You know what I mean? And they see this, and then you have this distribution, right? Then you have, and this is why I say, wow, this is the same thing. Look at the guppy, the daily guppy. You have like this brief moment of hope where the fast EMAs turn bullish. For this guppy, it's like light blue. But then you have like this brief moment where the fast EMAs turn bullish, and then we break support easily, right? It's not even like maybe, we kind of bounce a little bit. No, it's a very like aggressive move downwards. And so the second green box is where people FOMO. And then the distribution happens high above the guppy. Also, if you ever see the fast EMAs, the fast or the slow, but the fast will of course happen before the slow. But if they ever expand really, like they expand really far apart, that's overbought. Really, as far as like price action alone without volume can tell you what overbought is, because you need volume to be overbought. That's about as good as it gets, right? Like when you see them, you see how the guppy fast EMAs really expanded, like they're really far apart. Same thing like here, that's overbought. Same thing here, downtrend when they got really spread apart, oversold, retraced up. So, and this is, shit, look at 20K. Boom, we never saw 20K again. All right. And then just like fractals, you grab the first part and put on the end, right? And so then you're gonna dump, and that's very much what we've done now. So now the question is, do we create a higher low or do we not? Right? Damn, I low key. Do I want to take a picture of this? Yeah, I'm gonna take a picture of this. Might tweet it out later. Cool. I guess that is the fractal. Definitely want you all to keep in mind. Oh, I guess the other thing I wanted to show with a 4-hour guppy is very much the same thing, bearish. You see the fast EMA is starting to spread out, turn bearish or flipping bearish, dark blue. We'll probably retrace a little bit into here, or we'll expand with the slow EMAs, which will be a really aggressive dump whenever the slow EMAs start expanding. Kind of like here when we went bullish. So we'll see how that works. And there's really no point in showing you the 1 hour because it's definitely bearish. The reason the higher low is important, again, I show this often, or I try and show this as many times as possible so people just don't lose sight of the bigger picture with the trend. You have to keep in mind that this is the high time frame trend. lower highs, and these are the closes. These are the closes of the weekly candles. Lower highs. Not a single higher low or higher high in sight. And then we look at the lows. Lower low, lower low, lower low. Again, candle closes. So a lot of people were trying to bullshit. They're like, "No, Nick, this isn't a lower low, or this is a higher low," because fuck that wick. Like if you're no, come on now. Don't pay attention to that wick. That candle closes, right? Whenever you're like, that wick is kind of extreme, it's because it is extreme. Like and so definitely lower low. This was a lower low compared to that low. Like I said, use that wick if you want to, but then you're getting your trend fucked up. Lower low, lower low, lower low. So now here's the question. Do we make a higher low here? We basically have to close above. And granted, you see I'm using what am I using? I think I'm using Bitfinex and Bitstamp. So I'm not going to give you an exact number, but around 6150, wherever this low is on whatever Bitcoin chart you're looking at, we essentially need to close, weekly close above this line. And not only do we need to close above this line on the weekly, then we need to bounce and bullish response. If that does not happen, right, then we will continue our downtrend and make a lower low. And people really want to make shit harder than it is. It's not. It's just not that hard. We're going to make a lower low if we break this line, and that will continue a bearish trend. Now, if you're trying to pick a bottom, don't, because that is silly. Trade whatever the fucking trend is showing you. I know you can find places where you're like, okay, I want to look for a reaction at this level. That's a very sensible thing to do. Trying to pick where Bitcoin is going to bottom out is not a sensible thing to do. I'm looking for a reaction here because this was the last little down pull before the run up to 20K, and that is a monthly candle. That is September of 2017. 2017 high. This was the body of the candle, right? So this was the open, and this is where the market opened, and that's where it decided to close. And then you can for sure, this is a big gap, so I'm really not paying attention to it, and it's at 3K anyway. So actually, I'm not going to mark it out just because there's so many things that can happen before we even get there. So this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking for us to break this low until we get a weekly close above that line and a bullish response. We need both of those things. And then once we break this, I'm looking eventually somewhere here. I'm not going to say as soon as we break this is the next destination, because you still have this line right here that this area where the weekly candle, I guess, fought up against on whatever this was, first week in November. So we could bounce here. And that would still constitute a lower low as far as our closes are concerned. But eventually, this is why I say sub 5K, we at least need to touch sub 5K, right? This is at 49.75, somewhere around that level. We may never get here, right? If we close above this line, have a bullish response, and I'm going to keep saying that over and over and over again, because that's what the market has to do. You cannot be under the impression that we are going to go on a bull run until we do that. And then even when we do that, that's not to say that we're going to blast off from there, because we could for sure go sideways into an accumulation phase and then continue up. But yes, so that's what we're looking for. So that's pretty much all I have. I don't know if you all care about Ichi clouds. Couldn't really complete the end to end. We're dumping Kijun supports at 71.34. So maybe you look for a bounce here if you believe in that, which would kind of line up with this support area we drew before, that this green line. So maybe you look for a wick into this green zone, and we bounce off the Kijun. I really don't trade the cloud anymore, but I do look at it from time to time. 12-hour bounce may be coming, which makes sense because we are at a support level. I think I have it marked off on this chart. Oh shit, I have it as we're breaking support, but it looks like we're kind of wicking here. 4-hour bottom of daily cloud. So I mean, there's confluence of support here on multiple time frames for a bounce, but we'll see, where that goes, because we could for sure just bounce and then end up bouncing towards this. Oh shit. Damn, I have a lot on the chart here. We started off blank, so that's good. But we could for sure bounce here, right? Where you see these wicks coming in, where it was a previous area of demand over supply. If we bounce here, we might just retrace up here, which looks like, if I'm eyeballing it, looks like about a 50% retracement of this down move. And so I'm not, I wouldn't break the bank trying to go long here. But I do acknowledge that we're at a support level, or we're about to approach support, and we could bounce. That's pretty much it. So I'll see y'all later, unless y'all have any last minute questions. Don't really see anything worth noting. I guess the only other thing would be ETH. People like to look at this as a metric for the alt market, which isn't the best thing, but I mean, whatever you want. But yeah, ETH looks horrible. Literally, if you saw this flipped, if this was an inverted chart, this would be the most bullish thing ever. But this is horrible, right? You have resistance line, never return to it. Then we form a new resistance line, and then we just can't return to it. This is a weekly SR level here. You see touches, reactions here, bounce here. So we're approaching support, or an area that should give us a price reaction, but looks bad. It looks bad. For sure. So that's pretty much it. So I will see y'all later.